Welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, where you get straightforward, no-nonsense ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. It's brought to you by the Chief Coaching Officer of the Peak Performance Group. He's also a brilliant and successful serial entrepreneur. He's a two-time author. He's a certified executive coach. He's a sales genius. He's bald.
Hey now.
And he's your host of the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. Buckle your chin strap. Here's your host, Coach Rick Colster.
Hey, welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. As you know, I am Coach Rick. Remember to subscribe and like below, folks. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube video. Hit like, subscribe so you get every single episode. And today's episode is going to be off the freaking charts. I got to tell you what, we are just so happy that you are here and all the likes and subscribes that we're getting. It's exciting. So let's kick this thing off. As a business coach, I always encourage my clients to set these lofty goals, stretch goals, right? And the question I've asked my coaching clients for years is simple but powerful one. What would you try if you knew you couldn't fail? Well, today we take a little twist on that question with our guest. What would you achieve if you weren't afraid of being laughed at? See, today's guest is a man of action and someone who gets shit done. If you have an outrageous task, a dream you have, he's the one who makes it happen. In fact, I think, and I'll let him expound on it a little bit, he's actually been called the real-life Wizard of Oz. And in the age of gotcha culture, people are so terrified to do anything that might get them laughed at. Well, Steve Sims is the exact opposite. In his new book coming out, we're going to talk about this, Go for Stupid. I love this chapter, The Art of Achieving Ridiculous Goals. Steve's going to teach us how to ignore what everyone else thinks and go for that big, stupid, ridiculous goals. I always called them BHAGs. I kind of like the big, stupid goals right now, whether it's from organizing a private dinner in front of Michelangelo's David to securing a tour of SpaceX led by Elon Musk. His accomplishments start with the same question. How far can I take this? What would make this a stupid achievement? Steve is going to take a look at famously stupid goals in history, habits of successful people, and lessons from his own career to help you let go of fear and get out of your own damn way. So if you want to do something amazing, you will be ridiculed until you're revered. Stop overthinking and go for ridiculous, stupid goals. Once you go for stupid, he says, you open up the door to the life you always dreamed about. So that's coming out in October. I think I'll let him talk about it a little more. But think about the magic of the movie of The Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy goes into a magical land where so much happens and dreams really do come true. Well, today we have with us on the Bald Truth, the real life Wizard of Oz. Welcome, Steve Sims, to the Bald Truth, my brother in bald. Welcome, Steve.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's a blast. Since we met, I'll tell you what, I've been following your career, and you don't know this, but years ago, I saw you as a little redheaded beard guy, right? When it didn't turn gray like both of us.
Yeah.
Right? Little redheaded guy. It was a bouncer in a bar. And, how is he doing this outrageous stuff? What is going on here? And that's what I want to start with. Let's start with the outrageous, because to say the least, you are known to do the outrageous, right? How did you get started making dreams come true? And then I want to talk about how today you're helping others make their dreams come true. So how did you get started making dreams come true?
So first and foremost, my story is no more interesting than anyone else. I can just sit here and name drop, Elon Musk and the Pope. So I suppose it makes the story a little bit more interesting.
You just did.
Yeah, there you go. But like all of us, we're all aggravated. We're all pissed off. We all want better. And I remember being a bricklayer in East London, and I thought to myself, hang on, I'm getting shit on every day. I'm not getting paid a lot. How come they're rich and I'm not? Now, being a big, ugly guy, the obvious place that I got easy jobs was either manual labor or, doorman. And I remember being a doorman of a nightclub one night and seeing these people coming in, not caring about how much their bar tab was, just throwing the credit card down. I thought this was the epitome of wealth. Like, I remember at the time, I would check my tabs to make sure I wasn't being overcharged because money meant everything to me then. And I wanted to have conversations with these people. So it started off, I would get them into clubs. I would get them into private bars. I would introduce them to people in the club. And I was always doing this, not because I was warm and fuzzy and I wanted to hang out with them, but because I thought, if I do something for you, you'll let me ask you these questions. Now, if we think about podcasting today, it's the greatest way in the world for us to be able to have conversations with people that, let's be honest, we would never normally have conversations with.
Absolutely.
I had a podcast the other day. I had Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No, I had the hitman with John Gotti's Mafia on my podcast. Under what circumstances would I ever have had a conversation with him? But now, because of podcasts, we have that. Now, me and you, we're slightly older than 21, so we remember an era when we didn't have the internet. So I used to get people into these kind of things as a way of engaging them. So I could say, hey, I wanted to ask you, how did you start your business? And I would interview them. So I was podcasting before there was podcast, with only me being the interviewer and the listener. And of course, without realizing it, these people would have money, because let's be serious. What's the point of interviewing a poor person about how to be rich? It's ridiculous. No, so I always thought, who's the richest person in the area? And I would go after the richest, most powerful person every single time. And of course, who do rich and powerful people know? Rich and powerful people. So it just started going bigger. My requests went from, hey, I need to get into this nightclub, or I need to get a penthouse for the weekend, or I need a yacht, to I want to play drums with Guns N' Roses. I want to play piano with Elton John. Oh, can I sing on stage with Journey? Oh, any chance I could go backstage at such and such concert, or get front row seats at the Paris Fashion Week with Chanel? All of a sudden, I was doing these amazing things, but they were never the focus. And this is where the key is. Because I wasn't scared or focused on the actual experience, I was focused on the conversation I was going to have with them 2 days later. I had no intimidation. And how many times, this is very important, how many times, and I'm sure the listeners out there now are doing the same, how many times do you sit there and you go, hey, I would love to meet Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
And then they say
I would
something
like to meet Elton John.
Yeah, but how many people will say it and then follow it up with, but I don't know how to do that. He wouldn't want to talk to me. I'm not talented. I can't do this. You spend 1 second saying your dream and then spend 3 minutes talking yourself out of it. You talk yourself out of your own goals and aspirations.
That's crazy. That is crazy, dude.
But it's true, though, isn't it? How many times do we say, oh, I'd really like to do this, but, oh, I can't do that. I'm not good enough for that. And we almost ridicule ourselves. Now, my wife, who I met when I was 17, she was 16, she said to me at a dinner party once that my superpower was ignorance. Now,
you didn't know what you didn't know.
At the dinner party, when she came out with that, I thought, damn, we're getting divorced. This woman's just called me ignorant, And she felt the temperature of the room change. And she turned around and she said, no, hang on a minute. How many times has he ever done something? And you sat there after hearing about it going, how the hell did he pull it off? Well, he pulled it off because he was ignorant to it going any other way than he had thought. And those people that laughed at him, and this is an important thing, how many people laugh at you aren't worth your attention? Those people that stood there going, oh, you can't do that. That terrified you're going to, and prove that they're inadequate to do so.
And
So
that's
anyone,
I so
that's
get
the planet.
that. And that's
Yeah.
the thing is, who says you can't do it? Okay, so I had a conversation this morning, and I was blessed. I worked in nightclubs. I actually bought a nightclub at 22. I had no freaking clue what I was doing. Fresh out of college, and I said to a guy, I said, "Let's buy that neighborhood pub in New Jersey." I didn't know how to run a bar. I didn't know how to run a damn business. I didn't even finish college. I was halfway through, and I said, "Well, fuck it, let's just buy it." Bought the bar, turned it into a go-go joint, and Saints and Sinners, great name back in 1981, right? And everybody came. All my hometown buddies showed up. All the guys who laughed at Big Rick, or I wasn't even Big Rick, and I was just Ricky at that time. Laughed at Rick in high school and all that because he wasn't a great athlete and he just did his thing. All of a sudden, we're my best buds. They were like wanting to hang out. They wanted to drink. They wanted to watch the dancers on the stage. They wanted to come in and hang out with the man right now. And through those times, I moved to Houston. I began building, setting up nightclubs, working the door, working the bar, working the whole place, running them. But you're right, the connections. But people, if they didn't tell you, they were thinking it. I want to be you.
Yep.
But they all looked at you down because you're working in a club. You're just a club guy. And we had tons of rich people in all the clubs that I worked in, all the good clubs I worked in. And the interesting part was I met a guy in the club business who had this dream. He had a dream of being a pro wrestler. Right? He was my age, mid 20s, early 30s. He decided he was going to become a pro wrestler at the age of 35. You retire at pro wrestling at 35. Everybody laughed at him. Everybody says you're full of shit. Never going to happen. Dude, you're too old. It can't happen. Well, he went on to win the world championship belt 3 times.
Wow.
And now runs a multi-million-dollar fitness company with his own name on it. I mean, how crazy. We were all laughing at him. Go, dude, you're freaking nuts, dude. What are you talking about? But he had that thing. He had that laser focus, the goals that he wanted to achieve. And I think that's where it really is, when you have that laser focus. And I want to kind of look at that. You're talking about setting these big, outrageous goals. And people don't do that. How many people do you know have goals for themselves?
You're right. And the goals, the downside is the goals are usually achievements that they can barely touch. They're not really stretching themselves. So when people would come to me, they were outsourcing their expectations, their aspirations to me to fulfill. So I would look at it and I'd get a goal. And you mentioned about, Michelangelo's David. I had a client that literally wanted to have a dinner in Florence that would demonstrate to his future mother-in-law and father-in-law how powerful and connected he was. And instead of just setting him up in a great restaurant and having the chef come out and pander to him for 10 minutes or walk him through the chef's table in the kitchen, I took over the Accademia, the Gallery and Museum, set a table of 6 up at the feet of Michelangelo's David in their own museum that was closed down to just them. And then in the middle of them eating their pasta, I had Andrea Bocelli come in and serenade them while they're eating their pasta. Because I always started with, okay, how can I make this ridiculous? How can I make it? And I would ask myself, how can I make this a laughable goal? I never used the word impossible. The second you use it, you've given it power. You've given it authority. I can't do that. It's impossible. You think you're going to try, but you've just given yourself a get out.
Well, everyone just says, well, I'm not sure. They go questioning themselves. I have this goal. I had this dream, but, I'm not sure. Nah, I don't know. And it never happens. And you're absolutely right. When I teach clients and as a coach, as I teach clients to set these goals, set them to stretch, set them to hurt a little bit, set them to make you like going to the gym. And I love going to the gym. I'm a kind of a gym rat. I love getting to the gym because now I get to lift a little bit heavier. Now I'm a little bit older. I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I still push myself. I still go, oh, wow, I did chest today. That's kind of sore. Oh, man. I think I did a little extra than I should have today, which is that good feeling because you stretched yourself just that little bit. And setting those goals in the moment I look at those dumbbells and I go, man, I don't think this shit looks heavy. Guess what I just set myself up for? Failure. Yeah. And I usually fail. So I got to go, I got this. My last thing I always say right before I go, and usually I go, last set, best set. Come on. Boom. And I bang it out. Same thing, walking, working out, business, taking that. If you don't know what you don't know, you can't be scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the fear that gets us all.
But let's break that fear down into what it is today, because in today's world, and you used it earlier, we're in a gotcha society.
Yep.
Everybody that does anything, anywhere in the planet, in any kind of profile or media view, or even just, on your local social pages, you're standing there waiting for someone to go, oh, I can't believe he said that. Oh, that was inappropriate. Oh, did you see him fall over? Oh, he says he's got $1 million. Actually, he's only got 999,000. He's a liar. He's a scam. And everyone is in a gotcha society. There was a woman, and it's strange little story, but there was a woman in an area called Glendale here. And I live in Los Angeles. Glendale's got a big shopping mall. And me and my wife were walking through Glendale, and there was a couple of guys in front of us. And then in front of them two was, and I'm going to be rude, probably the largest woman I've ever seen. Now, not only was she large, she had been shopping in Target. And I knew this because I don't know how many bloody bags she had on her arm, but I was actually quite impressed with how many carrier bags
she could carry on her
had on her arm. Now, also, she was already massively fat. She was holding her hands out to the side. No one could get past her.
Oh, yeah. She took up the whole sidewalk.
The entire, and I was stood there going, well, this is rude of the woman. She should at minimum bring her arms in so people could get. As I was thinking that, the woman tripped, fell over, and because her hands were out to the side, the only thing that hit the floor was her face. She couldn't block herself from that fall at all. Bags went everywhere. It was honestly like a lump of meat just going bang, hitting the floor.
Damn.
Now, the two guys in front of me moved quick to try and grab. No one was going to say, she was like 400 pounds. No one was going to be able to save her going down. But they quickly got to her. I ran over. They were looking after her. So I started grabbing her bags. As I turned around, they had rolled her over, and now she was sat there very uneloquently with her legs splayed open. So what I did was I actually stuck her bags between her knees and so no one could steal her bags,
Sure.
And all of a sudden she starts coming to, and as we're all talking to her and the medics are starting to run through the mall, she suddenly starts looking around. And I said to her, no, don't worry. All of your bags are between your legs. Is there any bag that I'm missing, like a handbag or anything? She's like, no, it's not that. And I said, well, what's the problem? She said, I just want to make sure no one videoed that.
That's the problem.
This woman, I guarantee you, she was so heavy, she landed on her chest, her face, it was bright red, really red. She could have cracked her jaw, a cheekbone. I guarantee you she never got off that easy. She was in pain the following day. If she didn't go to the hospital, we were ushered off. If she didn't go to the hospital, I would have been surprised. But all she cared about was someone videoing her.
And making fun of her and putting that up and doing that. And that's what we're afraid of. We're afraid to be laughed at.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You know what? I tell F them, laugh at me. You want to see me out doing stupid shit all the time? And I do. And I'm the king of doing stupid stuff. Yeah. So why not? Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares if you're having fun, if you're taking chances, you're doing things? I started a business in 2003 as a business coach and a business strategist. I didn't know how to do that. I said, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it. People went, what are you doing? What's that? Never even heard of nobody heard of coaching in 2003. It was really in its infancy. And they're like, you're a what? Now everybody's a business coach. Everybody's got one. You're one, a successful one. And I've helped thousands and thousands of people over the years. But if I listen to all those naysayers, yeah, you know how often people's businesses fail first year? You know how many businesses go out of business the first year? Same thing with you. If you listen to people that were telling you when you started trying to do outrageous things for others, you know, you might really screw this one up, Steve. Where would you be?
Yep.
You wouldn't be riding a new motorcycle. I saw you on social media. You got yourself a new scooter, don't you?
I got myself another little play toy. Yeah, I do like my two-wheel toys.
I do too. I'm riding mine. I'm a Harley guy, so I can't quite get onto the sport bike. I have a believe it or not, this is an interesting goofy fact, right? Is guy who has the same name as me. Name is Rick Colster. Lives in New York City, and he races and trains guys to ride sport bikes. And we've connected over social media and friends, and you know, we're not friends, but we're acquaintances. We've never met, just kind of shared on social media. That boy can ride. I mean, he's laying down, scraping knees and pegs and all that. And I got a road glide. I'm down a Barco Lounger riding down the street with my TV and my radio going on, hanging out. So I'm a little easier there.
Hey, I mean, look, I got a couple of Harleys as well. One of those is a big fat ass glide, and I just love cruising. I save my knee scraping and my adrenaline for when I'm on the track and I'm not worrying about some young teenage girl with a cappuccino in one hand, freaking cell phone in the other, while trying to do a TikTok video in the car. So
that's my wife's biggest fear. She's like, I don't know, we got to get out of town to get on the bike because these kids drive it. And she's absolutely right today. It's just, and you in LA, I mean, in LA, you've got to, that's got to be crazy. I'm here in Texas and just outside of Dallas, and it's as crazy, as congested and as busy as LA. So talking about social media, you really, really are on every platform, I think, pretty much every platform from, you know, IG to TikTok to Twitter. I don't understand Twitter myself. And, you know, YouTube, you've got your YouTube channel. But I saw something the other day, and folks, search for Steve Sims. Just Google Steve Sims. You'll find some great stuff. And we're going to get his website address in a minute. But I saw a picture last week of a somewhat younger Steve Sims in the back of a limousine. And there was a motorcycle helmet, and there seemed to be some blonde woman that every man wanted to sit next to at some point in his life. What the hell was that? How did that come about?
Yeah, so there was a party, and the lady in question is Pamela Anderson. And I was at this party, and I suppose, again, it's down to this, if you're scared of things, you don't move. You know, how many times do people go to a party, they see someone they want to talk to, and they think about it for so long, that person's gone. Mm-hmm. So I remember seeing her and just went up and, hey, how you doing? Just started chatting away with the friend that she was with. All of a sudden, they were going on to another event, and they were like, oh, we're going. This was like late at night. You can see from the picture, the pair of us were drunk. She had been to a Supercross show at the LA Arena, and they had given her a crash helmet as like one of the winners had given her the crash helmet. So she's in this club with a crash helmet. She says, yeah, do you want to come to the next party? And I'm like, yeah, all right. And there's me just literally with my head laid on her shoulder. And I was just quite simply resting my eyes. And then someone called and they took a photograph of me in the back seat leaning on Pamela Anderson. So it was just one of those funny things that comes up, because I never allow intimidation or ridicule to dictate what I'm going to do with my life. And it was a revelation. You mentioned my book, Blue Fishing. That came out 5 years ago, and I thought that was going to be the biggest waste of space. That book came out. I got paid extremely well to write it, and I thought, well, there you go. It's written a book. That's the end of that. Ain't going to go anywhere, but I just got a lot of money. Again, I bought more motorbikes with it, and I just thought, that's it. And then I suddenly realized that people were contacting me that they didn't work that way. And as we were talking on this podcast about ridicule and gotcha and being laughed at, I realized that people don't mind trying, They don't mind failing. They care if someone sees it, and they're mortified if someone laughs at them. And as we all say, as you said, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you didn't care if someone laughed at you?
Absolutely anything. I mean, look, I've done some dumb things. I'm an adrenaline junkie myself, and I love to do just whether it is dive with sharks, jump out of an airplane. I mean, I've done them all, right? So here's stuff. And like you said, if you don't ask, you'll never get. One of my fun experiences that I had was I got to jump with the Navy SEALs leapfrog, their demonstration team.
Wow.
Well, right into San Diego, right? So I meet this guy. He had just jumped into a sports arena, and I happened to bump into him while he was there. I said, "Hey, it was a good jump. Nice to see you." He says, "I'm from LA. I'm from San Diego." I said, well, I always wanted to jump. I always wanted to learn how to jump out of an airplane. But at 6'4", 240 pounds, not many people, I'm kind of stretching the limits of the silk. He says, you come to San Diego, I'll jump. You can jump. And all right. A couple months go by. Let me test this guy. Hey, were you serious? He says, yes, come out. Best jump of my life. Yes, I'm not allowed. That's the thing. If you didn't ask, you weren't going to get. And that's the beauty of it. So now you're helping people really go for it in their lives. Now, I mean, you've now had a new passion and I'm going to think it was a little bit of a shift from making things happen for people to making people make things happen for themselves. So
it became
Go for Stupid. It comes out in October, right?
Yeah, it comes out in October. You can find it on stevedsims.com, or you can find it on Amazon, but it won't be out before October the 18th. I just found that I spent 25 years becoming this Mr. Fix-It, as Forbes called me, the real life Wizard of Oz, to these affluent people. Again, remember, I only pulled off these amazing experiences just to be able to get your attention, to be able to ask you how you did things. And I was able to have conversations with, the Vatican, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Jean-Paul DeJoria, the most powerful people in the planet that you've never heard of, that I've been able to interview and build up relationships with. And I noticed a trait, a thread, was that they didn't care what you thought when they were focused on the impact it could create. And I thought, well, let me look into this a bit more. And I suddenly found that I wanted to do something that excited me. So rather than spending rich people's money, what about if I help someone get more successful? Because it won't only impact them, it'll impact their kids, their staff. You talk about businesses only lasting a year. If I can come in and help your business, well, I'm not only looking after you, I'm looking after all the families that rely on their business. So that became a greater impact for me. And while doing it and coming up with examples, this whole kind of like go for stupid mentality, not what are you aiming at? What is your ridiculous goal? What is just so stupid that people are going to laugh? And I didn't come up with that. I was with Elon Musk in SpaceX. And this was at a time just before NASA took him on and partnered with him, which let's be serious, that's a fucking joke in itself. Elon Musk does everything, and NASA just stick that freaking decal on the side. They stack
a label on it.
And all of a sudden, it's a partnership. Go screw yourself. We know who's actually putting that bad boy up there. But before Elon allowed that to happen, NASA would publicly ridicule him every time he spoke. And when I was chatting with him at SpaceX one day about this, he turned around and he said, they'll always laugh at you just before they applaud. And that was it. And I thought,
always laugh with you just before they applaud.
That is powerful, isn't it? So I thought
that's
to myself,
huge.
What about if I could actually now go for goals that were only laughable? What could you conceive that would make other people titter and giggle and whisper about you? And then when you've got that kind of reaction from people, that's what you go for. And so I started doing it, and it started working. And about 2 years ago, I thought, should I put this in paper? I did, and it comes out on October the 18th. Go for Stupid.
All right, October the 18th. Make sure you get this. Go for Stupid, the art of achieving Ridiculous goals, folks. That's amazing. You go to stevesims.com.
SteveDSims.com. Don't forget
Steve
the D for
D
dashing.
with the D in there. SteveDSims.com. That's right. They'll look down below. If you're watching, you'll see it down below. And listen, pull over. Don't drive while you're right. Right while you drive. So for all that listen to the Bald Truth, they know that goals are the things for me. I mean, that's what I teach. That's what I really stress is goals, leadership. Leaders got to have goals in order to achieve what they want. And they're critical for success. So when you talk about setting goals, do you have a formula? Do you have something that you could share on setting and achieving goals? Is there a way a process that you teach that's maybe in the book? You want to share a little piece of that? But you got to buy the book, folks. Got to get the whole thing. He's just going to give you. It's going to give you an appetizer. It's like a small charcuterie. That's it.
So, have you ever had your mate come over and he's bought a car or a motorcycle, and it's a strange color? It's a green or a yellow or a beige or a blue, and you sit there and you go, That's a strange color of a car. I've never seen that before. And then you're driving down the highway. What's the only color car you can see?
That same stupid color every single freaking time.
Because your mind's been open. So I've been training my mind to open to what I didn't know that I was actually seeing. I'll give you an example. I always stretch and try things I've never done before. Whenever I go out for dinner, when the appetizers come up, the menu, we always order, because we've got a big family, 3 appetizers. One of them is the ridiculous one that we have no idea what it is. Now, this is really funny when you're in like a sushi restaurant or something. And I can tell you quite openly, I have tasted some of the most disgusting things that I would have ever thought of and never thought to put in my mouth. But by you training your mind that, okay, we're in a restaurant, we're going to try something different. How many of you out there pick the same 2 appetizers no matter what restaurant you go to?
I think most of us do the same thing. I mean, it's my wife and I, we go out to dinner. I know what she's having. If we're going to a specific restaurant, one around the corner, our favorite little Mexican restaurant, I know she's having that chicken dish every single time.
What if your mind, you train your mind, okay, I'm going into this restaurant. Tonight, and I always say the appetizers because they're always the $10 risk. Okay, you can try it as an empty your bank account. So you try that, or when you're listening to a radio station, just randomly spin the dial and listen for 10 minutes to a radio station you've never heard of before. If you start getting these sound stupid. If you go home a certain route every night, start trying to find 3 other routes home. Now, they may take you longer, but you'll go through parts of your neighborhood that you've never seen before. But here's the key on this. Every single one of those is telling your brain, I don't do as I usually do.
Okay.
Get open. And when your mind starts looking open, and this is where we now lead into the finance, when you're starting to train your mind, I'm not having the same appetizer, I'm going to have something special. I'm not listening to the same music, I'm going to try something different. I'm not going home that way, I'm trying a different route. When you get an opportunity come in front of you that maybe you weren't seeing, your mind will grasp it and go, okay, here's something he hasn't done before. He's going to look at this opportunity, and you would have trained your mind to look differently. And that's what you've got to focus on today.
That's brilliant. And that's a brilliant way to look at it. It's changing your perspective. So now you have a new view on things. It's like anything else. Like you look at my hand on this way, right? One hand, my hand's being held up for those that are listening. He sees the palm of my hand. Well, are you seeing the same thing? How do I turn it around? You see something completely different. And I think that's the thing, is when we look at things in a different perspective, it allows us to make different decisions.
Yep.
And I don't know, if you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. I tell clients that all the time. Oh yeah, I do this. This is how I discipline people. This is how I lead people. Well, are you getting the results that you want? And generally I go, well, the answer I get is, well, yeah, sometimes, usually, not always.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing for your listeners to think out of, and I know we're running down, but you were talking about the gym. if you don't use it, you lose it. We all know that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't work out on your legs become weak, and all of a sudden they can't handle, the exercise you want to put them through. That's the same with your brain. But here's the downside. When you were a kid, you were curious. Then you became educated, and education usually is a response to how you handle failure. When things go wrong, do I handle it or do I run away from it? All of a sudden, you're building up a pattern.
That makes
sense. You lose curiosity. If you can retain that curiosity and bring it back by trying new food, trying new music, trying new things, your brain goes, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm getting curious again, and it opens up. And that's
okay. So I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's reject here, right? Don't we always hear that? Don't we always hear the, hey, curiosity killed the cat? All these old adages that scare the crap out of us. Curiosity killed the cat. That happens when you do cats. Nobody wants to die. Don't step out of your comfort zone. Don't step out of that box, because you never know. You may fail. We all look at what's going to go wrong instead of what goes right. Because we start with the mindset.
All of those sayings come from like the 1950s and the 1960s, when you were told, get a job, work your way up, get a pension, leave, retire, and then die.
That didn't work out for me.
We're in a different world now. We're in a different world. See, bear in mind, both of us can remember an age where in the 80s and the 90s, if you were an entrepreneur, it's because you couldn't get a real job. Now, we revere entrepreneurs because they're the ones that are employing the employees.
That's right.
So if you want to hang on to, hey, and I'm not going to disagree with any of your statements. In fact, anyone here that buys into those statements, you're on the wrong fucking channel. You shouldn't be listening to this.
That's
you
right.
Don't belong. Entrepreneurs are misfits that change the ingredients to make what they wanted.
So and you know what? That's the difference. I was born and bred to be an entrepreneur. I told you, bought my first bar at the age of 22.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I've always worked for entrepreneurs. I've only a few times, a few little tiny little periods of my life that I worked for a bigger corporation. Always wanted to do my own thing. And I have. Last 20 years, I've been doing my own thing. So that in and of itself says, hey, you can do whatever you want. Anyway, if Steve Sims can do it, come out as a bricklayer's son, right? Bouncer in the bar, to Coach Rick coming from a bouncer in a bar and a guy who used to dig telephone pole holes. That's what my dad did growing up. He dug the holes for telephone poles. Blue collar guy. Now, here we are, podcast, friends, and we're changing the lives of people. That's amazing. So, all right. So what's next? Now that the book's coming out, October 18th, folks, the book's coming out. What's next after that?
So I have a fear, and there's a friend of mine, Joe Polish, that actually sums it up perfectly. He said the definition of hell is to meet the man or woman that you could have been. And so for me, and look, I'm very happy. I've got, loads of motorcycles, whiskey, I'm good. But I don't want to be this good in 6 months' time. I want to try things, fail, become educated, live. Because if I stand still, I become stagnant and die. And I'm not willing for that to happen. So you're asking me what's happening next? I'm going to coach people. I'm going to do more with Sims Media. My September, October, and November are speaking gigs that are just ridiculous. I'm in Toronto with my boys, Navin Jan and Jim Quick. I'm in Austin, Texas with Richard Branson. I'm keynoting with Jacko down in Traffic and Conversion, San Diego. I'm all over the freaking place solidly for like 2.5 months. So I like to live. I like to push. I am not ready yet to put neutral on.
Perfect. I love it. That's awesome. So how can people find you? Website, social media? Give us let everybody know how to find Steve Sims.
It's really easy. Steve, D for dashing, Sims, 1M, anywhere you consume anything. Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, you name it. Steve D. Sims. I'm the exact same person everywhere, and why wouldn't I be?
That's the way to be that consistent across your platforms. I love it. And I think you said that in a speech I think I watched you give.
Yeah,
Be
I always
consistent in
do.
all your platforms.
Yep,
You gave me
and
some
then
insight as well.
Well, the other thing is, you say you don't understand Twitter. Who gives a shit? How much does it cost you to be on Twitter?
Nothing.
How much does it cost you not to be?
That's good question. There you go,
Yeah.
folks. Maybe I need to learn a little bit more about Twitter. Perfect. All right. So I have some bald truth question. Coach Rick's bald truth questions. I told you early, I'm going to give you 3 questions. Here you are. You got your seatbelt buckled? You ready to go?
Oh, I'll try to be.
Here you go. So you're holding a dinner party of all things, right? Let's say you're holding a dinner party for 6, yourself included, so you get to invite 5 people. Now, the caveat is you can invite anyone you want, alive or dead, in all of history.
Yep.
Who do you invite and why?
Wow. So I've got 5 people to invite, yeah?
The 5 people to invite, they could be alive, dead, all of history, doesn't matter. The only caveat is they can't have not been born yet.
All right. I know the first one that I would want to invite, Hitler. I want to invite Hitler, and I want to find out, I want to ask him one question. What were you so scared of? What was terrifying him so much that he went to the atrocities he did? Think about it. This is an Austrian, short, brown-eyed guy that was building up a super race of German, tall, blonde, blue-eyed guys. How the fuck did you work that out? Sooner or later, they would have turned around and killed him. So what scared him to be the nutter he was? So I would say, first off, it would have to be Hitler. Secondly, I suppose you've got to invite Jesus. You've got to go that side and go, hey,
okay,
how did you keep going? People are literally throwing rocks at you. You know, why not just go, fuck it, you're not worth saving? You know, so what had you going there?
Okay.
So I suppose I would have those 2 there. And then I'd have to fill it up with people probably like, I don't know, Michael Jackson would be on there. I'd want to come out hear about him, what he went through as a child to the megastar he was. Let's be serious. He had a freaky life. Marilyn Monroe would be a good one to be on there. You see a trait that I like older historians. Winston Churchill, openly famous for ending the war, and then got kicked out of Parliament and never got re-enlisted. Just why did everyone kick out the only man that got Britain out of a war? So
saved the country. I love it.
Saved the country, yeah. And he was the working man's person. So it's the older people that I'd really like to go back and have a conversation with.
Excellent. Good. History is huge. I love history. So now, second question is, an article's being written about you after you're gone.
Yep.
We all have an expiration date. We know that. We don't know what it is, but we know it. What's the title? Not what's in the article. What's the title of that article?
Here lies Steve Sims. He lived.
Okay, good. So finally, now, and this is a little bit for the listeners to give them some insight. What do you do
These
every
are great
day?
questions. I like these.
Thanks. What do you do each morning to set yourself up for success?
I do 2 things. One of them is a not to. Don't turn on the news. You wake up like a fresh baby, invigorated every single day, and then the first thing you do is turn on your news and saturate yourself with bad news for about 2 hours and get yourself in a state of depression, and then spend the rest of the day trying to get yourself out of it. So never listening to the morning news is the first thing I make a point of doing. Secondly, I pour my coffee, I put my dogs out in the yard, and I breathe. And I'm grateful that today's given me another chance to go and live.
I love it. Gratitude. That's something
Every
else.
morning.
Man, I thank you for that. That's some great advice, folks. Gratitude first thing in the morning. Take all the negatives, throw them out the door, and wake up with gratitude. Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for sharing, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time with us today. Anything you want to leave our audience? If they want to hear one thing, what would you leave them with?
My dad, big Irish lad, he once said to me, son, remember this. No one ever drowned by falling in the water. They drowned by staying there.
Excellent advice. Get up, roll up your sleeves, and get something done. Folks, set some goals, have some fun, and challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to be laughed at. It's okay, because they're not laughing at you. They're laughing at themselves because they don't have balls enough to do what you said you just do. So I'm leaving you with that today, folks. We love listeners here. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.
You've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether it's sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches can help you grow with their proven business acceleration process. Call them at 817-748-7425 or go to mypotentialplus.com and they'll connect you with the right coach for you. And remember to subscribe and like below. The Bald Truth Leadership Podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube video. Hit like and subscribe to get every episode. Thanks for listening to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. And until next time, roll up your sleeves and get to work, and you can make things happen.
I'm Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.